Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Patrick James here. Hey, I quickly wanted to introduce the rest of this video for you. This is a phone call that I recently did with my good friend, Adam Gilad, where I interviewed him on all of his teachings about meeting, dating, and attracting women and living an overall bold lifestyle. So I wanted to point out that this is a phone interview that I did with him, and you'll notice that it kind of sounds like we're on a phone call with each other, and that's because we were. And just to give you a quick background on Adam, he's in his 50s, and he tends to work with a lot of guys who are in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even 60s, because a lot of those guys really vibe with him and his story. Now, part of his story is that he was thrown into the dating scene in his early 40s because he had gotten a divorce with a woman who he had several children with, and he didn't really know how to meet and attract the women that he really wanted, which were women who were literally half of his age at the time. And he found his calling in writing online dating profiles. Now, Adam, he's a guy who used to teach literature and language at Stanford University here in America, and he also was a writer for a lot of the Hollywood TV shows and movies that you probably grew up watching yourself. So he's a really interesting guy, has a really good story, and he has a really interesting philosophy towards living a bold lifestyle and writing those online dating profiles that actually get women writing you first, so that way you can qualify the women who are actually writing to you and choose which one you want. So this is a really interesting interview. I honestly wasn't even going to post it on YouTube. I was going to make this paid content for my guys, but I thought I had to give it to you guys on my YouTube channel because it was so valuable and I wanted to give it to you. So on that note, enjoy the interview and I will see you guys later.
I guess I've been a dating coach for about 11 years. I got into it because I'm a really good writer. I got married at 23, got single at 39, had no idea to meet women, had my kids at home so I couldn't go out, but I didn't even know where to go anyway. But I was a writer. I taught writing, poetry, language at Stanford, screenwriter, Emmy nominated, all that good stuff. And when I discovered online dating, I'm like, like, I can write to women from home? That sounds good. And I started experimenting with language and different kind of profiles, and sure enough, I had tons of success, and wrote my first books about it, just strictly around language and online dating, and they kind of really took off. And then from there, it just became like, okay, so now you can meet women online, but how are you going to meet them in person? How are you going to develop a relationship? How you develop a higher quality level of women online? So I started doing a lot of research. I spent a lot of years working with a lot of people. David Data was a partner of mine for 2 years. And just like mastering, what does it mean to be a man? What does it mean to be the ride women want to get on, that you're going somewhere in life, that you're excited about your life, that your life means something to you and other people. So you don't have to fucking work so hard, by the way, trying to get girls, because you're excited about your life. You have something to offer. You've worked on yourself, and women are naturally attracted to you because of how you're living your life. And that's kind of what I love doing.
Awesome. And I can just attest to all the guys listening to this that Adam definitely, he's single now, but he hooks up with a lot of women half of his age. And it's funny because one of your programs is, that you're most known for is Date Younger with Dignity. And I feel like that's kind of been your claim to fame, if you will, with a lot of guys that you coach.
It's one of them. I mean, I think I'm known for online. I'm known also for writing, profiles. I think I'm also known for my Bold Life Brotherhood, where I take guys around the world on these adventure journeys to wake them up to aspects of themselves and have a life of adventure. And of course, take great pictures for their profiles. So we go to Italy, we go to Greece, we have all kinds of fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean, speaking of Bold Life Brotherhood, I know that's like one of your big things, being bold and taking bold action. Can you kind of describe how you would apply your bold philosophy to, meeting and attracting women?
Totally. And by the way, you got to come on our next trip, man. It'll be so much fun. But I came across I kind of developed the idea of boldness because I was kind of like so turned off by pickup when it first came out. I kind of became public around when Neil's book came out, The Game and all that. And like, there's two kinds of men that were sad to me in a sense. One were the guys who were really hesitant and shy and didn't have self-confidence. And they needed work on being bold, like just to be direct about what they want. And the other kind of guy was like super manipulative, who would do anything, say anything tricky to try to, fool a woman into bed. And those didn't seem like really healthy ways of living. So I think of those as two extremes. And being bold just means walking that middle path, man. It means like stating what you're about, stating what you want, especially with a woman. Like I also discovered like years ago when I started writing about this, just the way I talk to women. Like when, you know, I was a little flirtatious and talked to them a little bit. And I said, like, you know, I'm looking at you. You're really beautiful right now. Your lips look so soft. I want to kiss you. Like that. Or I'm going to kiss you. And if they don't say no, I kiss them. You know, and just like state what you want in this world. Stand for what you want in this world. And stop playing games. And stop holding back. Because, you know, your misery isn't helping anybody. and your manipulation isn't helping anybody. So that's what I sort of stumbled into, how to present yourself boldly, live boldly. It's a much easier way to live.
Yeah, I love that. And especially the whole making your intentions known part, because I feel like that's one thing that a lot of people struggle with is not only just like being bold to make your intentions known, but they try to almost cover it up with, like you said, these manipulations to under the radar attractor, which at the end of the day doesn't really work that well.
No, it doesn't. I agree. No, like even last week I was in New York and I took this girl out. She's 21. I'm more than 21. Twice.
Yeah.
And then again by half. And you know, I met her online. I took her to some music. It was a nice night. And then I took her out to dinner the next night, and we're having a great time. And, you know, without going with all the steps, finally I was like standing next to her showing some pictures, and I looked at her and I go, "You're really beautiful. I want to kiss you. How do you feel about that?" She's like, "Great." So I kissed her. It was great. And at the end of dinner, I said, "You know, I'm really having a good time with you. I'd love for you to come back with me tonight to my hotel." And she was like, "Sure." I'm like, "That was easy." It's like not that hard, you know. If you're living your life right and communicating in a way that's, I want to use the word interesting, a little edgy, respectful of women, playful, all the things that you teach so well. You know, you don't have to. There's no games involved. They want to be with you.
Yeah. That reminds me of something that I actually saw you speak about it on stage once, but it's a certain line that you use every single time, like you're about to end a date with a girl, especially like one of the first dates that you're on with her. You want to talk about that line?
Which line is it? I got a few of them.
It's the one where you're like, here's what's going to happen. And then you kind of...
Yeah. Oh, that's not every date. That's like if I really like somebody. So, yeah, again, I stumbled onto it just by saying it to a girl. She was 23. I was 48 at the time, I think. And I met her online. Took her out around sunset. We fucked around, you know, drinking and breaking into parties. It was having fun, you know. And I walked her back to her place. I drove her back to her place. And, like, even though she was in the Hollywood Hills, like, she had a little white picket fence, like in Iowa or something. And I looked at her, and she's gorgeous. And I said to her, all right, here's what's going to happen. All right? Taking the lead. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to kiss you. If you like it, you're going to kiss me back. If I like it, I'm going to pick you up, throw you over my shoulder. I'm going to make love to you all night. I said, I think I'll ravish you all night is what I said to her. I said, and if we both like it, then in a couple months we'll go to Hawaii together. Right? So what is that? What did I do? Let me break it down, because this is communication skills. Here's what's going to happen. I'm the man. I'm setting the tone. I'm setting the lead. I'm not asking permission. Here's what's going to happen. I'm going to kiss you. Right? Now, at that point, you could say, no, you're not. In which case, fine. That's great. Now I know not to. And you don't push it. You don't be an asshole about it. Right? But it's a way of finding out if it's cool. So I'm going to kiss you. If you like it, you're going to kiss me back. So that simple statement does a couple of things. It gives a woman respect. It gives her what we call agency. Like, she now has the choice whether to take it further or not. I'm putting it in her lips, putting it in her hands. And if you like it, you're going to kiss me back. So I'm giving her the dignity of making that choice, right? And she can stop me at any time. And then if I like it, then I have reward for her, right? Which is I'm going to pick you up, throw you on my shoulder, and ravish you all night. Now, if she's game for that, now this has become really fun, right? And then, of course, the big reward I'm holding out in the future of us going to Hawaii. We never made it to Hawaii, but we did have quite a good night. So
that's awesome. Was it because you just didn't last that long, or you just
I
forgot it?
It was my wild time. It was a very wild time for me.
Nice, definitely.
I was bad for people,
and I like that because it is bold and it fits in with your philosophy almost perfectly. And not only that, it's almost poetic in a way. Which
What's that?
The whole, you know, if I like it, if you like it, and then it's like framing everything as a reward at each step along the way.
Yeah, there's like a rhythm to it.
Yeah. Which reminds me, you're online profiles that you tend to write, especially yours personally, is like, it's very poetic, and it's the use of words that attracts women. And I'm really mesmerized by this because I don't consider myself to be as poetic as you. So I like admire it when I hear some of your writing. Can you talk about a little bit of the psychology that went into writing your profiles?
Yes. So, I'm very sensitive to language. Like I said, I taught language, I taught writing at Stanford, I taught literature. I'm very sensitive to language. So there's different kinds of words. Basic breakdown in English. You have your Anglo-Saxon words and your Latinate words. Your Anglo-Saxon words have punch, they have heft, they have kick, they have, those are all Anglo-Saxon words. Heft, punch, kick, bop, bam, bam, bam. They have power in them. Latinate words are like beautiful, onerous, languorous. It's like they stretch out and they're softer sounds.
Yeah.
So I like to mix up those two, and I use that as a metaphor for how I mix up words that are both sensual and then also words that are safe. So like I'll write in a profile like, you and I are of the tribe, we eat up all the world and all its pleasures, and then dash, but always in the context of safety and connection, right? So I'll always like mix those two online. Sensuality with safety, because you have, they work well together. One without the other isn't very effective. So that's one example. And you have to know what kind of words women respond to. And, I also have a women's business, so I know how to write to them. I studied women's psychology for both reasons. So, like, they want to hear about, connection and energy and the kind of things that make them feel, close to a man. Not just, they don't want to see dick pics all the time, you know what I mean? So you have to learn how to mix the language. And, you and I, you did a great job teaching. You want to talk about spontaneity and wildness and, there's something wild about you or there's something naughty about you. You suggest these things, but you don't fucking lay it on heavy so that they just think you're a creep.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you brought that up, because this last weekend when we were teaching, I was definitely talking about like framing women as adventurous and spontaneous and independent, but I feel like I almost in a roundabout way realized it when I heard your profile, because what you're doing is you're calling out for the specific women that you want.
Yeah, because awesome. I don't have the patience for anything else. I need someone who's happy, healthy, loves adventure, will do crazy shit with me, will travel with me, who's not snooty, who's fun, who's happy. I just don't have the patience anymore for anything. So I frame it really hard. Like I frame it really hard for what I want. I filter in my profiles deeply. Like, if you mention shopping as a hobby, you're not my girl. If you mention Jesus or Joel Osteen, you're not only not my girl, you're not my century. It's like, and I'll do that because I don't want someone writing to me that they're God-fearing, Yeah. And then the kind of girls I like will love a line like that because they feel the same way, It's not my style.
Huh. Interesting. And I feel like that's probably why you're able to travel around literally the world and just like meet up with girls that you meet purely through your profile, because you know that they're pre-qualified in a way.
Yeah, it's like people still don't appreciate how important a good profile is. That's exactly right. You can pre-qualify for exactly what you want and filter out what you don't want.
Huh, interesting.
Yeah.
So this is a random kind of offshoot of what we've been talking about, but I realize that you work with a lot of like guys who are especially, in their middle age or even older. What do you say to those guys who come to you and they have no kind of sense for how to flirt with a woman or attract her or even get a girl attracted to him? Like, what's your kind of first steps with those guys?
You mean like guys like over 40 and stuff? Like,
yeah, or just guys who are just recently thrown into the dating scene because maybe they got out of a really long relationship.
Sure. I was one of those guys. Well, a couple things. One is, and I tell this to women too, first of all, joy is magnetic. Do shit that makes you happy. Find your zone of excellence, your zone of happiness. Do things that make you happy. All right, that's number one. Because if you're doing things that make you happy, you're gonna radiate happy energy, right? And people will be naturally attracted to you. So do things that make you happy. Like, don't throw your life away going to work that you don't like and not doing things you don't like in the evenings. Like, challenge yourself. Go to improv. Go to learn salsa. Travel. Learn a new skill. Learn tantra skills. Go to Tony Robbins. Whatever it is, wake yourself up. Like, wake up to your joy. Because if you're having a good time in your life, I would say, women want you to be the ride they want to get on. So you've got to be going somewhere. You got to be excited about your life. And I don't care who you are, do it. I don't care where you live, do it. Because if you're just like stumbling through life, not excited about your life, why would any girl want to be with you? They shouldn't.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's number one. Get excited about your life. And then for guys who are over 40 and stuff who want to date women in their 20s or 30s, I always say, like, look, don't fake being young. You're not young. So don't, go to the club with them. Don't try to fit in with their friends. You have to bring them into your world. So you can be youthful. You should work on being youthful, which means excited about life, trying out new things, being optimistic, all things that young people are naturally. But don't try to make believe you're young. Just be youthful, but be yourself.
Yeah.
Have the dignity of your age.
Interesting. And that's one thing I've noticed, like, just coming to several of your events, is the guys who you've worked with for a long time really do radiate this joy and, like, positivity. And so it's very obvious in, like, the way that they are able to attract women, simply because you've kind of brought that out of them. And it all ties back to your bold lifestyle. A lot of these guys are traveling the world with you, doing bold things that they probably wouldn't have ever done, which I think is awesome. Interesting. So, I mean, we've gotten a lot of different avenues here, but what are some other ways that you tend to attract women, or do you have any specific things that you do?
I'm gonna try to grow my hair back. It's funny. It's a weird question. At this point, it's like I don't do things. I just bring who I am. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's kind of a weird question. It lands kind of funny. I always, like, you and I taught together, and I always stress, be the party women want to go to. Be happy, bring joy, like give value. Don't try to get. Be a giver, not a predator. So make them happy, make them laugh, check if they're okay. Like, be fun, bring the party, and don't be attached. So that's number one. Number two is I pay very close attention to them. Very, very close attention. So, like, we were out that night in Vegas last week, and I walked up to a woman, and I said, I see you checking out that guy's ass. And she looks at me and she goes, I'm checking out everyone's ass. I go, here, you got the best one? And I turned around and showed her my ass. She goes, pretty good, pretty good. And then I looked at her friend, and this is what I mean about observe stuff. So, like, I looked at her friend, and I go, you're a school teacher. And she goes, why'd you say that? Because I am. And I go, oh, it's just everything about you that hinted me. She goes, what do you mean? I go, your shirt, your haircut, your glasses. You teach first grade. She goes, I teach third grade. It was awesome because I was just paying attention to her.
Yeah. And not only that, like, when you're able to make a perceptive comment about that, whether it's like a cold read or anything, it shows her that you are present. And I feel like women really do value a guy who's able to be present with them in the moment.
Yeah, like, I'll often, like, best opener in the world, one of them, if you don't have a drink in your hand, is, you look happy. All right? So I was online at Whole Foods here before, and the girl was like, I go, you look happy. She goes, thank you. And I go, and you're smart too. And she goes, why? I said, because you and I are not waiting on that line. The express line was like 50 people long, but, like, the regular checkout next to it was like 2 people. So I went to that one, obviously. She goes, yeah, I don't know why everyone else is waiting on those lines. And I'm like, yeah, well, you look like a smarty pants. So I made these observations about her, and she likes those things. So I'm just observing. So being present in the moment. You and I taught a whole exercise about, when I'm talking to you, I notice that. And you notice something about her and notice something about yourself, like that.
Yeah, I really like that exercise. And that's, like, one of the things I really like about your events is you bring women there and you have the guys literally, like, practice connecting with them, which I think is, like, it's so important. Can you talk about a little bit of the philosophy behind those, like, I noticed this?
Well, philosophy is like being like the worst thing is when you come with canned shit and girls can tell.
Yeah.
Right. You don't want to come with canned stuff. Everybody wants to be seen and appreciated. So when you're actually noticing who she is in the moment, how she's standing, how she's dressed, how she feels, and when an emotion passes through her, like, wow, when you said that about your sister, I saw a little sadness. What was that? Oh, yeah, we had a fight, blah, blah, blah. Or like, wow, when you mentioned your grandmother, your whole face lit up. She's like, yeah, I love my grandma. She's blah, blah, blah. So pay attention. And who doesn't want that? Everybody wants that.
Yeah. And one of the things that I really noticed it, like, when we did those exercises, because a few of those times you kind of put me on the spot and you're like, I want Patrick to go. And then I go and I'm like, oh, shit, like, should I actually say what I'm feeling right now? And then I just kind of go into the exercise. And what I've noticed is, like, you're making eye contact with the girl, and you're under the context of you have to say, I noticed this about you in this moment, or something like that. And a lot of the times, what I do is a lot of times my mind will just go blank, or all I think is like, God damn, this girl's so cute. And that's like, if that comes up in the moment, I feel like a lot of guys are so afraid to say that. But it all goes back to kind of what you were saying earlier, like be bold. So like take a moment, breathe it in, and see how you truly feel. And if what you actually feel in that moment is, God, you are really cute. Like, don't be afraid to voice that. And I even remember you kind of did that this weekend when we were demonstrating that exercise.
Yeah. Okay. Good man.
Yeah. So anyway.
So yeah. Well, you have the confidence to let your mind go blank, which is kind of cool. And ultimately, that's a great goal for everybody.
Is that a good thing? I thought that was a bad thing.
No, I think because you have confidence that you'll come up with something. I mean, empty mind, right? An empty cup gets filled. A full cup doesn't learn, So stay open to what's going on in the moment.
Yeah.
Like, let me think. What else did I see this week? I'm trying to decide on a couple other. And you want to get to the stuff that most people won't notice about them. Like I was out with a super hot girl in New York a couple weeks ago. Like really cute. She's like 21. She's like totally beautiful. And I never talked to her about her beauty, so I kissed her. I always talked about her sweetness, like how sweet she was, and just what a sweet heart she had. The way she talked about her dog, her sister, stuff like that. And I just totally stayed away from the beauty because most guys, that's what they're going to talk about.
Yeah, which brings me, like, I really want to ask this, and I feel like maybe I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of guys who are maybe in a similar position to you where maybe they're older, maybe they just got out of a long relationship. But what truly separates you, if there is anything, or maybe it's just mental, what truly separates you from the guys who see a lot of success at your age and are able to date younger with dignity versus other guys who maybe are more traditionally good looking, but like they're tall, whatever. But
I don't know. I can't even compare. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Like one example that comes to me is the British guy who was at our event last weekend.
Right? Wow, what a great dude.
Great guy, but I felt like, obviously he's not dating at the level that you are. Like, where's that disconnect there? Because he
was pretty well. He's older than me, first of all, by probably 10 years.
Oh wow.
Which matters at this point. But he's already done his thing. He's retired. He's became a big director of a company and made his money, and now he's traveling around the world and playing instruments and writing, and he's like this happy-go-lucky dude. So he's got that happy energy, that is very attractive. And he showed me pictures of some of his girlfriends in Norway. I'm like, holy shit! Wow, we should all move to Norway. By the way, after looking at that, I'm like, let's just move to Norway.
That's awesome.
But a lot of guys, some of the other guys that were there, and other guys I've coached, a lot of it is that they're sad about their life because they lost their family, they feel left out. It can be hard for a guy. It's much harder for a woman, by the way, at that age. So have compassion for women around that. But a lot of times they're just like kind of bummed about their life, and they've stopped learning and growing, which is why I have my Bud Light Brotherhood and take people around the world, because I wake them up to like how much fun life can be. And then they're excited about their life, and they have something to talk about with women.
Interesting. Yeah, and I've noticed that is like when you kind of disconnect from the everyday pattern of life that, it gets boring. Like, for example, I was in dental school, and, a lot of guys who probably are listening to this may know my story already, but like I was in dental school and I felt like every day was just the same, and it was monotonous, it was boring, and I knew exactly what the next 30, 40 years of my life would look like. And I made the decision to drop out and become a dating coach, which was like
very bold.
Doing that, it was very bold, but I couldn't predict the future 1 week away. And it was very different. It was very out of my comfort zone. And I feel like a lot of the guys, like I did that young, but I can't even imagine having done that at age 40, 50. I feel like a lot of the guys must feel like that when they get out of a long-term relationship or marriage. And I think that's just your whole boldness. Life is just awesome.
Yeah, it's harder later. Thank you. It's harder for guys also because maybe they have a house, or maybe they're paying off their kids' fucking student loans. So, like you have more responsibility, and you get more set in your ways. You gotta not allow that to happen. You can't get calcified.
Yeah. So one thing I kind of want to like talk about this real quick before we end here, but I might have to attribute all of my skills in approaching women to a video I saw, a webinar that I saw you give years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It was, I remember a specific example. I was kind of going through my head of like, how do I start approaching women? Because I was just starting to get into dating advice, and I heard a webinar, and you were talking about this whole concept of boldness. And you gave a specific example of how you were at an airport and you just went up to a girl, got her attention, and you just said like, wow, I thought you were really cute. I had to come over here. And I was like, you can do that? Like, that's possible? So I guess I want to thank you about that. And maybe do you remember that exact example or webinar?
I don't exactly. I mean, I talked to a lot of girls, but no, I mean, like, why wait? Like, you know, you don't get to be with girls when you're dead, as far as I can tell. So take a risk, take a chance, go for it. Why not? I mean, I always do. And by the way, guys, talk to everybody because that makes it easy. You know, talk to everyone you meet. Just naturally joke around, talk, tease, make observations, give compliments to every woman without expectation of anything. And then it just becomes your natural state. It's who you are. Then it's no big deal anymore. That's what we did on this weekend. You and I taught this weekend called Weekend of 1,000 Approaches. And the idea was just approach so many women, talk to so many women, compliment so many women randomly. That's just not a big deal anymore. It's just who you are, you know?
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, talk to everybody. Like, when we first took those guys out on the first night, I remember the first people that I even approached, even like as a demonstration for the guys, were two older ladies that were in their late 60s, and they were there for the rodeo that was in town. But I did that just to show the fact that, like, I'm not going to discriminate who, as you said, I'm bringing the party to. I'm not going to discriminate with that because the more people I talk to and are comfortable talking with, the easier I break out of my shell, and then approaching that, you know, the hot girl that really turns me on, it's almost automatic.
Right, exactly. It's no big deal anymore. Just who you are.
That's awesome, man. So I guess we're going to close out here because we've gotten a lot of value, and I feel like we kind of hit on a lot of different areas of your life and, you know, different types of guys who may be going through different, you know, stages of their life even. But are there any kind of like last ideas and thoughts you want to give the people listening to this?
Yeah, live a bold, happy life. Like, don't fucking settle. Like, you're the best example. I mean, I wrote my book before I ever met you. But you gave up a lucrative career, like that would have been boring for the rest of your life. You would have had your fingers in people's mouths. You know, instead, now you have other things in people's mouths. But, like, you made a really bold decision to, I'm not going to, you know, go gently into that good night. I'm just not going to live a boring moral life. The more excited any guy is about his life, the more you'll have to talk about, the more energized you'll be, the more they'll look up to you. And think about this. A woman is either going to look up to you or what?
Down to you.
Down on you, right? Yeah. So be the kind of guy women look up to. Like, do adventurous shit. Volunteer. Be of service. You know, be a great brother, father, son, friend. Challenge yourself. Start new sports. Travel if you can. Be alive. You know, be alive. You know, whatever makes you feel alive makes you naturally magnetic. And they don't have to work so hard to meet women because you'll naturally attract them. That's my big thing.
Yeah.
And learn psychology and learn communication techniques and all that, of course, obviously.
Yeah. Always improve.
Always improve. That's great. Absolutely, yes.
Cool. So where can these guys find you if they want to follow up with some of your advice and some of the stuff that you teach?
Hopefully I'll be in the arms of a beautiful woman. On adamgilad.com. Adamgilad.com. Okay. And then I teach weekly at adamgilad.com/smart, where, you know this, I read all the top books on female psychology, communication techniques, relationship techniques. And I you know, these are the real big scholarly books that have the information that everybody wants, but nobody has time to read them. So I read them and make a video class at the end of every week. That's fun. adamgilad.com/smart. And yeah, I'm around. You can find me online. We're all findable now.
And then you also have your Instagram that I know you recently got into. So I'll definitely link up all that stuff below.
I got schooled last night. I went out with a girl I met 10 years ago. She was Miss Teen USA.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then she got married, I got married, and then we both, she had a horrible breakup. I had a pretty bad breakup. And I had the best fucking time last night. We went to Italy here. It just opened in LA. And we drank a lot of wine and a lot of cocktails, talking about our various situations. Hers is way worse than mine. She found out her husband was living a total double life with a whole separate family.
That's
crazy shit. Anyway, she's public about it, so I'm not giving anything away. She's written about it. But she showed me all kinds of cool Instagram stuff, so that was good.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, I'm getting into that.
I noticed you did some Instagram stories last night, which were actually pretty entertaining. So,
I don't even know why. I was doing it with her. What went up?
There was one where you were like kind of dancing in front of these wine bottles and stuff.
Did that go up? I didn't know that went up.
Yeah, I thought it was entertaining. I was like, oh, he already got some Instagram stories going.
That's really funny. Yeah, so Instagram, Facebook, I'm everywhere,
Awesome, man. Well, thank you.
All right, guys.
Thanks for coming on. Yeah.